You see the world not as it is, but as you are. Bit of a thought process on that. Bit of an interesting one. Because there's a lot on perspective. And I talk a lot about that the world isn't as it seems. It's as we perceive it. Because two people can have the exact same experience and come out with very different opinions and beliefs about the situation. It's the old story of an alcoholic father has two sons, and one of them's an alcoholic and one is not. And when asked why, the alcoholic son says, because of my father. And the non-alcoholic son says, because of my father. Same experience, different outcome. Because so much of the world is our perception of it and how we respond to it. Because we can't change the things that happen to us. We cannot dictate how our life plays out. But what we can dictate is how we respond to the things that we go through. The actions that we take in correspondence to that. And that is a massive factor in how well your life will play out, in how well things will go for you. Your happiness, your satisfaction, how you respond to problems, how you rise to them, how your life improves or deteriorates. So much of that comes down to your perception and your perspective. And within that, there is the words that you say to yourself, the words that are repeated over and over and over again. It's part of why I do this. It's part of why I do these speeches. And I've said it before and I'll say it again. I hope that it impacts you. I hope that this makes a difference in your life. I hope this speaks truth into your world and inspires you to do better things, to be a better version of yourself, to take the action, to step up and live as the best possible version of yourself. But also, even if it does nothing else but gets the thoughts out of my head and into a format and allows me to constantly repeat the things that I believe and the man that I am trying to become. Because I've said it before and I'll say it again, I am a deeply flawed human being. I am not perfect by any imagination. Yes, I have strong opinions about things and I am constantly trying to be a better version of myself. But part of that is the repetition of it. I'm here repeating them to you, to also repeat to myself. I listen back to these as well. I speak to myself on this because I am trying to become this, constantly step forward into more and more this man. And I've spoken about it before. A lot of the cliches are cliches for a reason. Fake it till you make it. I think it's more of live as if you're already there. But part of that is the repetition of that version of you. So I repeat these things over and over and over again in my head. I try and live and honor these things that I am teaching you. But at the same point, I need the repetition of saying it out loud, the repetition of thinking it, the repetition of enacting it, so that I can continually step into the man I believe that I can be and will be. So much of our life is dictated by our perception, but also our thoughts about those things. So what things do you listen to? What things go into your ears? What do you watch? What do you consume on social media? What do you allow to filter into your life? Because on that, like we talk about nutrition and we talk about exercise, but there's also the diet that goes on in your head. There's the diet in what you consume and what you allow to impact. What we watch, what we listen to, who we associate with, the conversations we have, all of these things have micro impacts on your day-to-day life that can turn into massive impacts. It used to be that you couldn't get access to people who were living the life that you wanted. It was hard to shift where you were in the world, because you had to do it on your own. You didn't have any guidance, you didn't have any inspiration, you didn't have any of those things. So you just had to fully bootstrap it up. Now, we have unlimited access. You can find people on the internet every single day who are living the life you want, who embody the things that you want, who can teach you exactly how to get those things, how they went through that process. We have the greatest opportunity ever to improve ourselves every single day. And yet so many people still just consume crap, that it is also, on the flip side, given us an unending supply of access of just utter rubbish to waste our time on, to waste our lives away on. There is a never-ending supply of TV shows, there is a never-ending supply of reels and social media, and we can get junk food and cetacean food delivered to our door. Hell, we can get alcohol delivered to our door, and drugs as well. Everything is easily accessible on both ends of the spectrum, not just the positive, but also the negative. So we need to make choices about how we utilize these gifts that we've been given, how we utilize all those kinds of things. Are you, channeling positive thoughts? Are you listening, watching, consuming things that are going to uplift you, that are going to cause you growth, that are going to cause you to think deeper, to act deeper, to make better choices, to do the things that need to be done? Or are you consuming things that warp your perception, that just waste your time, that slow you down, that create what's it called? It's basically adult onset ADHD caused by inattention and the ability to focus on tasks and follow through. So it manifests as things like ADHD, but isn't actually a neurodivergent thing, because we are so addicted to our phones and the way we consume all of this stuff in the modern world. You have the option to do better, because the world isn't as it is, it's how we see it. And so we can shift how we see the world, how we see things, and how we interact with it. When bad things happen, it's not why me, it's try me, why not me. You can shift that perception. Opportunities for growth. Setbacks are timeline divergence into a higher timeline, an opportunity to be better, to live better, to grow from it, to learn something new about yourself. There is always an opportunity for growth in every situation. It just comes down to your perception and how you perceive situations and how you then respond to them. How we perceive the world will dictate how our life goes. So if you choose to be a positive person and an uplifting person and see it as always a chance for something, it doesn't matter how bad things go in your life, you can turn it around into something great. You can turn it around into utilizing it into growth and potential. And we can always shift our perception. We might not be able to shift the circumstances. I had that happen today, and I was telling a friend about it. They were asking me, how I was coping. Things are a little bit difficult at the moment. And I was like, honestly, this morning, if you'd asked me, I would have been like, I can't do it. I cannot handle it. We had to have a tough conversation, and they pre-warned me, and I was like, I nearly responded that. I was like, not today. I am not in the headspace or the mind frame to handle what needs to be done today. And I was like, fuck that. And it was hard. I'm not going to lie, it was hard to shift that perception today. And I went through a struggle on that today. That I was really not in that headspace, and I was like, I don't want to fucking do this. I don't want to have this conversation. I don't want to deal with this. I just want to push forward and see where I can end up. But that's not where I was. That's not what I had the option to do. It's also not who I am. If I'm going to get on here every single day and teach you how to live a better life, I have to embody that. I have to be the antithesis of that. I have to be the highest and purest version of that. I cannot let it slip. I cannot be hypocritical. I have to embody what I'm teaching here and be the most authentic version of myself with that. it is so disingenuous if I'm going to be like, yeah, you have to be better, do better, you have to elevate your game and look after that kind of stuff. Oh, but by the way, I don't want to have this conversation, so I'm going to run and fucking hide. No. So I had to shift my state. And it took me a while. It took a lot of my day today to shift my state out of that woe is me, victim mentality, this is hard, what the fuck am I going to do? I don't want to deal with this situation, to good. This is fucking good. And that's a Jocko Willink one. If you can get to a state where when anything goes wrong, you go, good. Now we fix it. Now we address it. Now we have an opportunity for growth. Now we have an opportunity for more. Now we go after it. Fucking good. Now we do stuff. And that's where I got to. But as I said, it wasn't an easy time. I had to go shift my state. I had to go for my weighted walk. I had to go get a workout in. I had to get grounded. I had to take some time. And I was grateful as fuck that I had that opportunity today, that I had that gap in the middle of the day after I'd worked my sessions this morning, knocked out 5 hours, and then had the opportunity to take some time to sort through that, because I didn't want to stay in that place. I'd created a perception, I'd created a negative story around what was going on, and that wasn't going to serve me. That wasn't going to fix the problem. I had to stand up and I had to face it and I had to deal with it and I had to talk myself through it and I had to shift my perception on the situation. No, this is good. This is an opportunity to face this head on and deal with it and to keep moving forward. Because as it was discussed many times before, and I'm sure we'll discuss it many more times, that it is about consistency. It doesn't have to be perfect, and today was not perfect by any stretch of the imagination. But I consistently moved forward. I overcame that resistance that was in my face. That dragon of resistance came and it nearly got me. It nearly took me out today. It was nearly all over Red Rover. But thankfully, I rallied. And I managed to fight back, and I managed to push forward, and I managed to do the things that needed to be done so that I could continue to be the best version of myself, so that I could, in an authentic place, stand here and talk to you today about this. And that's what it's about. And we talk about this all the time, that you have to embody being the man that you want to be. Not just for you, but for others as well. You know, the other one that I came back to was I thought about my children. And I thought about, not that they could see me, not that they would ever know, not that anyone would ever fucking know apart from the friend I had this conversation with. But I don't want them to be the type of person who gets to a point in life and they go, I don't want to deal with this, so I'm going to run and hide. That is not how we deal with problems. We need to face them head on. We need to, as I said, see them and be like, good, let's go. That's the response that needs to happen. That's the reaction that needs to take place. That's where we need to be for this. That it's like, good, this is an opportunity for growth. And that's how I turned it around eventually. And I was like, okay, good, I'm going to have this hard conversation and I'm going to grow from it. I'm going to have an opportunity to face things head on with eyes wide open. You know, that's where you need to be. Because, well, at the same point, it's all perception anyway. Anxiety, depression, stress, all of that is just a perception and focusing on things outside of your control. So instead, focus on the things you can control. Focus on the areas where you can take control and be in charge and do what has to be done. You know, anxiety and stress comes from focusing on the future that you cannot control. Depression and sadness comes from focusing on the past that you cannot control. All we can control right now, right here, is our perception, our thoughts, our habits, and our actions that we take. So what are you going to do with that? What are you going to do? Because you can't change the future, you cannot change the past, but you can change what happens right now. We can control what happens right in this section. And adding that stress, adding that anxiety, adding that sadness and depression is not going to serve anyone. So shift that paradigm, shift that perception, and be a better version of yourself. Do what has to be done on that front. It's the hardest and simplest way to happiness ever. Just decide. Like, that's all that's required. Just decide. It sounds wild, it sounds fucking crazy, it sounds oversimplified, but that's the answer. Just decide that you're going to be this man, and decide and decide and decide and decide that you choose this version of yourself. You choose this perception. You choose this reality every single time. You have decided that this is who you are. And that's the first step. And I promise you, the more times you do this, that the universe will hear you. That it'll listen to you and be like, right, he's serious. This motherfucker is serious. And this is what he wants to do. All right. We'll align the fates, we'll align the world, and we will make it a reality. But you have to decide. You have to decide on that perception. You have to decide that it's who you're going to be. You have to decide that that's what's going to transpire. And then enact it. So yeah, your perception matters. Your thoughts matter. The choices that you make matter. And the world isn't as it appears, it is as we choose to perceive it. And it's scary how frequently doing things like that will then turn around and produce such incredible opportunities for growth and things of this nature. So that's all I have for you. I hope that helped. I hope that spoke to you. I hope it gave you some insight and showed you the way a little bit. So that's all I have for you at this point. Now, if you took some value from that, if there was something of note, please like, comment, subscribe. And let me know. As always, I'm here and I love to read those comments. I love to hear how this is impacting you. Next, if you want to dip your toe into the water and see who you can become, how you can shift your perception of reality, and just taste it a little bit, click the link in my bio, grab my top 10 tools to transform your mental toughness. Lastly, if you really want to step into the man that you know you should be, and start becoming that best version of yourself, to shift that perception of reality and go all in on yourself, shoot me a message. Let's chuck you into the greatness club. Let's see who you can become when you change your perception and you start acting as if, living as if you're already that man. Let's make it happen. Until then.